Warning, warning! The views expressed on this program are solely those of the individuals involved in the discussion and for entertainment purposes only. They do not reflect the views of Bad Bob Productions, its affiliates, or partners, and should not be considered endorsements or legal advice of any kind.
Can you control the violence living inside of you?
This program is not intended for children under the age of 13. Parental discretion is advised.
Now, it's time to burn, burn, burn.
It's Bad Bob Kari Morning Hangover!
There's no hiding out from your flavor.
And now, your host, Bad Bob!
And the crowd goes wild. Well, obviously, I am actually not Bad Bob. As you can see in the corner there, I am Base God 14, the producer of Bad Bob's Saturday Morning Hangover. And I am going to be your host today because, unfortunately, Bad Bob is not available. So we very much miss Bad Bob. Bad Bob is not here. He has some family obligations. Good stuff, by the way, from my understanding, because I had a conversation with him yesterday. But in order to please the algorithm gods, I'm going to go ahead and do this show anyway, because we're just trying to establish the show. And I think it's important that we make sure that we go live every Saturday morning, you know, if at all possible, right? So I'm going to do the best I can by myself. Please comment. Please talk about our topics. Talk about whatever you want. If you want to ask me whatever you want, it doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm really just trying to please the algorithm gods at this point, but also I do want to follow up with some things that we've been talking about on the show. Obviously, the midterm elections have been big on our mind. So we are going to talk about the U.S. Congress, the balance of power. So we're going to be talking about that red wave and how the media has been treating the red wave. So we're definitely going to be talking about that. We are going to be talking about Kari Lake. Because Kari Lake has conceded nothing. She has conceded nothing. So I'm going to be talking about Kari Lake and other races here in Arizona. Myself and Bad Bob are actually based in Arizona, so definitely want to talk about some Arizona races. But again, we'll be talking about some national races as well. And, this whole concept of the red wave. Because it's interesting how the media portrays some of this stuff. Just editing something here. And we're also going to be talking about college football, especially since I'm doing the show solo. I always try to put in some college football stuff because I'm a big college football fan. I don't really support professional football anymore. And so college football is really my jam. It's really my thing. That's what I get excited about. So we're going to be doing a preview. As I'm speaking to you right now, I have it on in the background. Classic trap game is going on. TCU, the number 4 ranked team in the country. They currently control their destiny. They are number 4. They are in the playoffs if they win out. They are in trouble right now. They are in trouble. Rivalry game against Baylor. They are down 7 right now in the first quarter. I will keep an eye on that as we continue the show. We are going to have a whole segment near the end of the show where I'm going to be talking about all the big college games today, the ones that I'm trying to watch, the ones that I think you should be watching. If you're a gambler, maybe this will be interesting to you as well. But right now, TCU is in some trouble. They are getting off to a very sluggish start. It's kind of funny, with the Big 12, because the Big 12 is always known for these great offenses, right? And TCU has been playing a lot of defense lately, but not that well right now. They are down 7 as this broadcast is starting. All right, so let's talk about Kari Lake. Kari Lake has conceded. She has conceded nothing. She has conceded nothing. Interesting story going on here in Arizona. I'm going to start out by showing you Kari Lake's Twitter page. and kind of show you what strategy apparently is building at this time. I have to make sure that you guys can see everything. I am running solo. If you have any feedback out there, please let me know. So Kari Lake, this is her official Twitter site. And as you can see here, as we go down, she's immediately talking about lawsuits. And this is the big thing that's going on her site. So you see here, she has a post. Celicia arrives 5:45 a.m. to vote before work. The tabulator rejects her ballot. At 7 a.m., tech arrives, can't fix, tells people to pull ballot in the box 3 or leave. The infamous box 3, which, by the way, I really didn't even understand box 3 that much, but this is from the tabulator errors that happened on election day. So we got the infamous box 3. She stays. 8:30 a.m., Dominion arrives. They reset the machines. No luck. She looks at the ballot. The ink is faded and it's unreadable. This is an issue that has been brought up. I've heard this where there was a problem with the ink of these. There was a printing problem, as I understand it. So they printed these ballots and they weren't printed well enough to be read by the machines. So it says 8:30 a.m. Dominion arrives, resets the machine. There's no luck. She looks at the ballot. The ink is faded. It's unreadable. 9 a.m. and she misses work. Of course, what I would be interested in this particular story is did she eventually get to vote? It says she missed work, but it doesn't say whether her vote was actually tabulated or not. One thing that I want to put out there that I see with a lot of people. In fact, I have a neighbor, really good friend of mine, and we go back and forth on this. One thing to remember, if you vote the day of, it's that machine that's everything, right? That's why the box 3 is also kind of an issue, because there's this issue of people that, didn't get their vote counted on the machine. That's the reason you go day of, because if you go day of, you're supposed to watch, because I've voted day of in Arizona before. You're supposed to watch as you put your ballot in the machine, and then it'll just tell you whether it tabulated or not. It'll tell you right there whether your vote was counted. And that's it. That's all you get. Okay. If you vote early, which I voted a day early, you can actually go on the county website. I use the county, Maricopa County, because I voted in Maricopa County. You can go on the website, and I actually showed it in a previous episode where I showed everyone that my vote was counted. And so you have to go to that link. It's pretty easy to find. I think if you actually go on Google and you're put in Maricopa County, vote early, tabulation, whatever you want to put in there, you can find it pretty easy. And I've showed it on this show before when we did our election night virtual party. I did show how to do that. So just keep that in mind. So it's on a tabulation machine. That's kind of why the tabulation machines are so critical, right? And so if you didn't get that and you're the infamous box 3, that does suck. It does suck. That absolutely sucks. And I think she might have a case. But let's look at what it is that she has to. Let's look at the challenge here as far as the numbers. Okay, I know there's people out there that are probably disputing these numbers right now. There's going to be lawsuits. Like I said, Kari Lake has conceded absolutely nothing. She has conceded absolutely nothing. So keep that in mind. Everything has to be taken with a little bit of a grain of salt, right? So let's go look at the Arizona election results here from the infamous now. It is infamous. To me, it is infamous. The fact that Katie Hobbs ran her own election is a problem. I don't know how it is that anybody says it's not, but hey, mainstream media is going to do what they're going to do. So we've got her nice mug here at the top. These are the featured races. As you can see, we've got the Mark Kelly, Blake Masters race. They're separated by over 125,000 votes. The chances of that flipping, even after any kind of lawsuit or whatever. Which, by the way, Blake Masters has conceded, so I should put that out. Blake Masters did concede the race. Okay, so he's not fighting this. There is a big gap there. He's not fighting it. Kari Lake is not conceding. She is going to fight it. As of right now, she's separated by 17,158 votes. I will show the outstanding votes as of right now in a little bit. But, and we're talking today is November 19th, Saturday morning, November 19th. So as of that day, I'm going to show you what the outstanding votes are. This race has basically been called already, but all the votes have not been counted. So we're talking over 17,000 votes separate Kari Lake with Katie Hobbs as the front runner. Secretary of State is separated by 120,000 votes. That's another one that even with lawsuits and all that stuff, I just don't see it. It's over. Attorney General, very interesting one. This one, everybody is saying, is definitely going to a recount regardless of what the candidates do. Abe Hamadeh, as far as I know, has not conceded. There are still outstanding votes, 578. He could still flip. I will show you the numbers. The last dump did not look that great for him, but as of again, this is November 19th, 10:41 a.m. Arizona time. So that's like 9:41 Pacific time. He can still actually win this, but it's going to go to recount regardless. Regardless, it's going to recount. The question only right now is, will he go into the recount trailing by more, trailing by less, or will he actually flip this? It's kind of an interesting race. The state treasurer's race is really interesting. Kimberly Yee had this the whole time, even election night. I mean, she's been in the lead. She's leading by 282,000 votes, over 282,000 votes as of this broadcast. The superintendent race has been very exciting in Arizona, which is really funny to me. The conventional wisdom is always that Democrats are better with education, right? That's the conventional wisdom. But Horn looks like he's pulling this off, over 8,800 votes ahead of the incumbent Kathy Hoffman. So that's definitely a bright spot for Republicans, I think. And I don't think there's any chance of this race flipping, but we're going to go look at the numbers in a second. I do want to mention the federal race, especially because this is my district. For David Schweikert, he is still ahead by 3,197 votes. This race has been called. I do not know if Jevin Hodge has conceded, but I do know that David Schweikert has declared victory. This race was declared really early, and this is going to be relevant for my national discussion a little bit. They called this almost immediately after it flipped. And I remember Schweikert was maybe ahead like 300 votes after trailing for like days. And as soon as he flipped, like the AP called it. And I thought it was really interesting they did that, because there's other races that they did not call, but they called this one almost immediately. And of course, what I'm going to be talking about is the House balance of power. Another big one here in Arizona that was close is Juan Ciscomani, and I'm butchering his name. I apologize. He is beating Kristen Engel by 5,232 votes. This one was also called. This race was also called. It's a very close race. I don't know if Engel conceded or not, but we're going to go look at the actual raw numbers available as of right now to show you if the possibility of any of these races flipping. So let's see here. We have got, here we go. This is the ballot processing status. So this is from the Arizona Secretary of State office. This shows you what is outstanding, estimated, what's outstanding as of 10:44 a.m. Arizona time, November 19th. So this is the last dump we have available. There are two counties with outstanding ballots, Apache County and Maricopa. Apache is one of our smaller counties. Most of the votes that have been coming in appear to be tribal votes, so they have been leaning heavily Democrat. 352 votes, okay? Of those 352 votes, 52 are estimated to be provisional. The rest are early ballots, it says. So the rest are early ballots. So we've got some early ballots, and we've got some provisional ballots for a total of 752. Maricopa has a little bit more. So Maricopa, they've got 3,849 early ballots. 3,849 early ballots. This is something we got to fix in Arizona, by the way. To me, the early ballots should be done. I mean, we're talking over a week after the election, and it's just ridiculous to me. But anyway, 3,849. And then we've got 1,900 of the ballots are ready for tabulation. No provisionals. So no provisionals. We're talking early ballots, and these ballots, these ready for tabulation. for a total of 5,769. Total outstanding votes are 6,101. So, of course, based on that math, there is no way, even if you get 100% of the votes, there's no way for the Kari Lake Katie Hobbs race to flip. That's all going to be dependent on a lawsuit at this point to see what happens there. But Hamadeh's still in it. It's going to be a recount no matter what, but there's a possibility he could still flip this race. The numbers that I have seen haven't been that great for him, as far as they haven't been big enough for him to take the lead, but there's still a mathematical possibility there. As far as all the other races go, I mean, it's kind of interesting, like District 1, mathematically. I don't know how many of these are actually from that particular district, because we're just talking Maricopa County. I mean, there could be a possibility, but looks unlikely. The Horn race also, there's not enough votes, right, at this point to flip it. So Horn's going to win. And hopefully his margin will increase. That's what I'm hoping. But we've only got 2 outstanding counties. So that's basically the state of Arizona. All right. And the story here. So let's go ahead and move on to the Congress balance of power and the red wave. The red wave. So I've been very disgusted by the way that the mainstream media has dealt with it. I've been disgusted by the way the Republican Party has dealt with this. Okay. The red wave did happen. It took a while. The House has flipped. And I want to point out some things that are really concerning to me, and stuff that I think that the mainstream media is not pointing out, and it really upsets me. It really upsets me. So I am not going to use the AP map. I am really upset and disgusted with the Associated Press right now, and I'm going to tell you why. But what I've been going to is Decision Desk HQ, and Decision Desk HQ is somewhat controversial. I know that, because Decision Desk HQ specifically has marketed themselves as an alternative to the Associated Press. And their big claim to fame was that they called the last presidential election for Biden early. And I know that's probably gets a lot of people upset, because I know there are people that were upset when Arizona was called early by Fox. A lot of people were very upset about that. So they've got it on both sides, is what I'm trying to tell you. So, with the previous election, they were probably criticized a little bit for calling it for Biden as early as they did. But you know what? That's their thing. Their thing is they think the Associated Press takes too long. And in this case, if you're a Republican, you've got to be looking at this like, okay, what's going on with the mainstream media? So we're going to look at some of these races, but I wanted to kind of show this. But the first thing I want to talk about is when these races were declared. So we've been covering the national scene and the red wave, and it took forever for anybody to call these races in California. I'm going to show you on the map, there are still some races that are still not called, even by Decision Desk HQ. But as of we've got let's see here. I think my banner is actually in the way, and I can't tell you the actual time here. But here we go. Decision Desk made their call at 9:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, on November 15th. Okay, on November 15th. That's when they made their call about Mike Garcia. And Mike Garcia is basically like going to be forever the man who flipped the House. So that's the time that they did it for Decision Desk. Now I've got this screen capture for the AP. And here's the contrast here, okay? They waited until the next day, okay, at 3:32 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, okay? And you have to ask yourself, why did they wait? Why did they wait so long after this race had been decided, at least by Decision Desk? Why did they wait so long for the Associated Press, which everybody basically waits on the Associated Press? And so we're talking basically almost like a full day difference, okay? The previous evening, Decision Desk HQ had made the call, and it took the AP until the next day in the afternoon, almost 24 hours, over 12 hours later, right? to go ahead and make the decision themselves. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Why do you think so many of these races took so long to be called? And you have to ask yourself that. I think you should be asking yourself that, whether you are a Democrat or Republican, independent, libertarian, green, whatever you are. You should be asking yourself that question. And you should be asking yourself, why is it taking so long to count some of these votes? What's going on in some of these counties? So when we talk about outstanding votes, California, it's funny because I feel in a lot of ways Arizona's a laughing stock, but California was worse. So if you look at some of these places, we've got two Republican-leaning races right here. 78% of the ballot. 78%. Again, this broadcast is November 19th. Okay. And this California district is only at 78%, and it's leaning Republican. Okay. David Vallado is leading his challenger, Rudy Salas. He's got 482,000 to 44,862 votes to 40,315. And this is still not even at 80%. Not even at 80%. This other district that's in contention for the Republicans, John Duarte, he is leading Adam Gray, 63,539 votes to Adam Gray's 62,674 votes. And we've got, this is almost, okay, just under 88%, 87.98%. But still, I mean, if we look at Arizona, we look at some of these races, we're talking 95%, right? 95% in. I'm looking at some of these different races in Arizona. 95% of the votes are in for most of these races, 95% or more. I just don't understand it. And if anybody lives in California and you can kind of explain what's going on in District 13 and also District 22 and why it's taking so long. Because, like, for instance, if we go to, let's see if I can find Pelosi's district, because Pelosi's district was called almost, not only was it called almost immediately, okay, but the vote count, I mean, the actual percentage of the vote count that was counted was very high. So unfortunately, I'm having some trouble getting her specific race. I apologize for that. It's just because I think her district is actually like really, really small, so it's hard to get it. But I know for a fact that gave me the Senate results. I know for a fact that that her race was called very quickly, and it was like 80%, of the districts. Like, it was just like that. So I would love to know if anybody has some insight into this as to why these places are dragging their feet. Now let's look at a couple other races that are important. Alaska is a weird one. If we look at Alaska, Mary Peltola, she is leading right now by far. She's got 48%, almost 49% of the vote, 127,364. Closest challenger is Sarah Palin, 67,485. The thing is, that's important here is Alaska has this ranked voting system that I think is bizarre. Maine does as well. We're going to talk about Maine in a second. So the way this is going to work is if Mary doesn't get over 50%, which looks like she's not, she's at 95% of the districts are reporting in. So it looks like she's not going to get there. What's going to happen is they're going to start going down the list. And you've got this guy, Chris Bai. So the first thing that's going to happen is he's going to get thrown out, and they're going to look at his second choices. So people were allowed to have a second choice. And the question is, did they choose Mary, Sarah, or Nick? Nick is a Republican who ran against Sarah, and of course is dividing the Republican vote. So what's going to happen is we're going to see Chris Bai, get thrown out of the race, and then his second votes will go to whoever. And if that gives Mary the edge, it's over, right? But if that doesn't give Mary the edge, then they're going to go to Nick, and they're going to throw him out and go to his second choice. And that's going to decide it, right? Based on these numbers, I think that's going to decide it. If there enough of his supporters took Mary as their second choice, it's over. She wins. If not, then Sarah Palin might win. Weird race. since we're talking about that weird voting system, Maine is in the same position. Maine, we've got a District 2 race here that they have not called because of the same issue. So this will be decided by Tiffany Bond, who I don't know what her party affiliation is, but it's going to probably come down because she got over 7% of the vote, and there's about a 4% difference between the Democrat and the Republican. So whoever her second choices were, if it's Bruce or Jared, if assuming they broke decidedly one side or the other, Maine could also be in contention. Another race that I've been watching is the Colorado race. This is interesting because this went to an automatic recount. This is Lauren Boebert. She's kind of she's pretty famous, I think, for the conservative side, the very Trump side of the Republican Party, which I don't know if I would really say that is necessarily the conservative side. That's a debate for another time. But she's a little bit of a superstar, I would say, certainly within the Trump circles. And she had a very, very close race. You can see here 163,832 votes to Adam First's 163,278. Really close race there. Really, really close race. This is going to automatic recount, but Adam has conceded this race. So they haven't called it. But Adam Finch has conceded. So right now, Decision Desk is showing 219 Republicans. They needed 218, 211 Democrats. So we've still got these contested races in Maine. Colorado is going to recount, and we've got these two districts in California as well as Alaska. Those, as far as I know, are the only real seats that we're still looking at as far as the House. But the red wave has happened. And again, this media coverage, I'll put up the screenshots again real briefly for these races that were called by Decision Desk. Same race for Mike Garcia. This is the person who flipped it. And you can just see the different times. And we're talking about over a 12-hour time difference in calling this. And this is the kind of stuff that I think makes people conspiratorial. It's because, why did it take so long for the AP to call this? Why did it take so long for these votes to be counted? I've got the graphic up right now for California. What is going on with District 22? Under 80,000, under 80% of the votes have been counted. What's going on in District 21? Okay, they're doing better. They're at almost 88%, but still, these are Republican-leaning races. What is taking so long? Okay, we know what's taking so long in Maine, and we know what's taking so long in Alaska. We know what's taking so long in Colorado. We have answers to those. Okay. Maine and Alaska have screwed up elections. I'm just going to say it that way because I think it's screwed up. I don't like it. And Colorado, the margin is just so close. They have to go to automatic recount. But the fact of the matter is the Democrat has already conceded. So there's spin going on. There's a combination of spin, and I think there are people that are delaying these votes. They do not want to, one of the things, a friend of mine, I was talking to him about it, and he was saying, you know what? Because he's not an election denier or anything like that. He's not in that category. But he said, you know what? I can see some of these places being like, I don't want to be the race that calls the House for the Republicans. So they drag their feet. And certainly that's within their power to do so. That's not conspiratorial. And I do think that there has been an effort to demoralize Republicans and tell them there was no red wave, right? Because there are these ridiculous numbers. Like, I think some people I saw one person, they responded to me and they were talking about they needed to win 40 seats in order for it to be a red wave. Says who? Says you? Okay. No, to be a red wave, we've got to take the House. And I've said this from the beginning. Now, being in Arizona, yes, I'm very concerned about the governor's race. I don't understand it. I really don't, because I just don't understand it. Katie Hobbs is not a strong candidate, in my opinion, in any way, of any form of the word. She's not a strong candidate in my personal opinion. But okay, the thing that was most important is we got the House. Republicans got the House. I am a Republican. And so that's the most important thing, because that allows the Republicans to to take the Biden administration's agenda off the rails. Okay. And we have to remember the Senate. Let's not forget the Senate, because to maintain would be awesome for the Republicans, because that is a legitimate griping point, right? That the Republicans actually lost seats in the Senate, right? So the Georgia runoff is going to be critical. The Georgia runoff is going to be critical as far as establishing, the extent of the red wave, if you will. I mean, everybody knew that was going to be close. We all knew that, McConnell was not supporting a lot of candidates out there. Who he did support was questionable. I know he didn't support Blake Masters, which I think is absolutely disgusting. He should not be the leader, the minority leader for the Republican Party. I wish they'd get rid of him. And one thing I also don't understand is they already did the vote for the way they look at it. It's like the Republicans' candidate for speaker, because obviously they can't do the real vote, I assume, until the actual Congress comes in. But why are they doing that vote before the new Congress comes in? And that's an open-ended question. And I know they've probably always done it that way, or at least for a long time they've done it that way. But that doesn't explain it, does it? We've got to have some reforms in these political systems. And I'm not a big party guy. We've used Washington's quote on this show about how crappy political parties are, and George Washington's famous quote about that. So when I see stuff like this, when I see that the Speaker of the House, the Republicans have already decided on their candidate for Speaker of the House when the new Congress hasn't come in yet, that's a problem. They're going to do a vote in the Senate if they haven't done it already for Mitch McConnell. The new Congress hasn't come in. We've got a runoff coming up in Georgia. All right. So that to me is not acceptable. And I don't know why we accept that. I don't understand that. And we need to question these things. I think we need to question these things. And we need to question media coverage, and we need to question how these votes are tabulated. That should be the big message out there is, all right, who is deciding which votes are coming in when, right? How is that being decided? So I think that's relevant. I think that's important. And again, we've got some outstanding votes still here in Arizona as of today's broadcast. Again, November 19th, 11:03 a.m. Arizona time. All right. So I think that's about it for politics for me today. Let's get into something fun. It's college football day. And since I am here solo, I'm going to go ahead and get into this. Some college football. I've got the TCU game. TCU Baylor game, classic trap game going on. I got it on in the background on my big screen television. As of right now, let me check what the scores are. So as of right now, TCU and Baylor are tied 14-14. Wow. We've got about a little less than 9 minutes left in the second quarter, and the game is tied 14-14. Very, very cool. Very exciting. Again, this is like a classic trap game. So let's see what else we got going on in the world of college football today. I'm going to pull up the schedule from the ESPN site. Here we go. My apologies. I am doing everything by myself, so I don't have Bad Bob here to tap dance for you, and while I'm trying to find things. I got to do it all on my own. So here we go. College football day as of November 19th. So there were some games earlier this week on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Not any significant matchups really in my mind. Tulane is rated. They did play. They're rated number 21. They did play on Thursday, and they won against SMU a score of 59-24. So Tulane is doing very well as a ranked team. But Saturday is really what it's all about. And we've got Navy playing UCF over on ESPN2. Illinois and Michigan. They are playing right now. And Illinois and Michigan is on ABC. I really like to promote the free games. Right now, the score is 7-0, favoring Michigan. This is an interesting game. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, Michigan ranked number 3, important game. ESPN Plus, which I really knock ESPN Plus all the time because I feel like there's no good games on there. And this isn't necessarily a good game, but if you're an Alabama fan, they are playing Austin Peay. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Never heard of that school. But anyway, Alabama is playing some no-name unranked team. They're still ranked number 8. They're on ESPN Plus. So, hey. What else have we got that I think is of interest here? Army is playing the University of Connecticut today on CBS Sports Network. I always try to support the academies. As I mentioned, Navy's playing UCF on ESPN2. I always want to support the academies, give them some love. What have we got here? Purdue. My father went to Purdue. They're playing Northwestern. That's live on Fox Sports 1, FS1. So Purdue is playing Northwestern. Purdue has been pretty good this year. And I always look at Purdue because my father went there. So good for Purdue. Hopefully they pull out the win. I know Northwestern is a very bad team this year, even though they did challenge Ohio State this year. They actually did challenge Ohio State. We've got the trap game. I mentioned it's still 14-14 as of right now. Baylor versus TCU. This is a good game. TCU controls their destiny. They need to win because if they lose, they're going to be punished severely. TCU has been underrated, in my opinion, but they've got to focus on every game, and they definitely need to pull this win out. So TCU, Baylor game, TCU controls their own destiny. They need to win. We've got Arizona, U of A, University of Arizona playing Washington State today on Pac-12 Network. I am not a fan of Pac-12 Network, folks. Pac-12 Network is really hard to find, even if you go to bars here in Arizona. And so Pac-12 Network is not something I'm very fond of. And it kind of upsets me because I feel like this type of game should be on one of our local channels. That there used to be a thing, and for some other sports, there still is that thing where there would be like a national deal, right? And it would be like, say, with Pac-12 Network or ESPN or ABC or whatever. And you would still have like a local affiliate, a lot of times an independent channel, would show the game, right? We don't have that anymore, and it kind of sucks. So very exciting game last week with Arizona and UCLA. I watched that game. It was a late game. We don't usually get late games on free TV. It was on free TV. It was on Fox, I believe. So kudos to them for providing a free game late at night, exciting game. And University of Arizona beats UCLA. It was a really good game. So I would really love to see them play again. Very cool. I myself actually did attend ASU, but my brother went to U of A. My best friend went to U of A. So, I really don't have any ill will towards the University of Arizona. Speaking of Arizona State, ASU, they're playing Oregon State. Arizona State stinks this year. They absolutely stink. I did notice that Herm, the former coach, failed upwards. Now he's a commentator on ESPN. I love it how people can fail upwards, But hey, it happens all the time, right? That's the way it is. So we've got that. Notre Dame versus Boston College on NBC and Peacock. So I don't know if the free version of Peacock gives you the sports games, but I do know you can get NBC with rabbit ears because that's what I use. I use rabbit ears. Technically, they're not rabbit ears. I use one of those flat antennae. Yeah, so we've got the Notre Dame game with Boston College. Notre Dame is definitely relevant right now because of their win over Clemson. And also, they're important for USC because if USC wins out, that would mean they have to beat Notre Dame. And Notre Dame is ranked 18 right now. So this is an important game that Notre Dame kind of has to still stay in the conversation, actually, to help USC. And I'm going to talk about USC in a second, too, and what they're looking at. So Boston College, Notre Dame, that's a rivalry. It's the Jesuits of Boston College versus the Holy Cross of Notre Dame. And I have attended both a Jesuit school and a Holy Cross school. I went to the University of Portland, which is Holy Cross, same as Notre Dame. And I attended a Jesuit high school. So, yeah. So you got the rivalry between the Jesuits and the Holy Cross. Notre Dame, Boston College. I am a Notre Dame fan. We've got Georgia's playing Kentucky. That's going to be on CBS. That's coming up at 1:30 p.m. it says, which by the way, I'm not exactly sure if this is Pacific time, but that's going to be in the afternoon. Georgia versus Kentucky. Georgia's been rolling over everybody. So also on ABC around that time, we're going to have Ohio State versus Maryland. See how that game goes. Those are both kind of trap games. I mean, I don't know how much they're trap games because I don't know how competitive Kentucky and Maryland really are. I would say that the current game with Baylor TCU is much more of a real trap game. Clemson is going to play Miami. Obviously, they want to win out. They're kind of out of the conversation, I would say, but there's always a possibility of weird things happening if teams start to lose these last couple of games, right? So there's still conversations that could be had, but for the most part, they're kind of out, right? They're kind of out. The ACC is kind of out of the conversation at this point. Let's see, what else do we have? I want to kind of emphasize anything left on free TV. Fox is going to have Iowa and Minnesota as a later game. So there you go. If you're a Minnesota fan, Iowa fan, Big Ten fan, Fox is going to have a later game for you with Iowa and Minnesota. California and Stanford, the Battle of the Bums on Pac-12 Network. I'm just going to call it how I see it. Battle of the Bums. I am a Pac-12 fan, so even though I don't like Pac-12 Network, I like to talk about what's going on in the Pac-12. Tennessee, of course, is trying to win out. They're number 5. They're the odd man out. They're going to be in the conversation, especially if TCU fails tonight. They'll be in the conversation. They're playing South Carolina over there on ESPN. Let's see. What else have we got here? ABC, late game. Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma. That should be a fun game. Big rivalry game. Obviously, Oklahoma has faltered terribly, but Oklahoma's been very inconsistent. So this should be an interesting game. It's a rivalry game. Oklahoma State should, destroy Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's been very inconsistent, so you just never know. And rivalry games, you never know. UCLA. Okay, so that's going to be on Fox, later game. That's kind of interesting that Fox is giving UCLA the late game 2 weekends in a row. So as I mentioned, I watched the Arizona game, and so now they're getting another late game with USC. Now, USC's got some issues right now. They are the highest ranked Pac-12 team. And so conventional wisdom says if they went out, they could be in the conversation. They're certainly close enough at number 7 that they could be in the conversation. They don't control their own destiny, but some things could happen if other teams lose, right? So this is going to be interesting, this interesting game. I'm glad I'm going to be able to watch it on Fox. So we'll see what happens there. But for USC to be truly relevant, this game here is going to be important. So we've got Utah and Oregon. And both of these teams are ranked. Utah is ranked number 10. Oregon is ranked number 12. Oregon, of course, is coming off of a defeat at Washington. And this is interesting because if Utah wins this game, barring something crazy happening in their next game against Colorado, I think Utah will be representing the Pac-12 South, and USC will be out. So that will basically mean USC is out of the conversation. Because for USC to be in the conversation, they have to win all the remaining games, and they have to win the Pac-12 championship. If they do not qualify for the Pac-12 championship, I think any aspiration of getting actually any Pac-12 team into the college playoff is over. There's just no way it's going to happen. So this is interesting. So you're going to have Utah and Oregon, and if I understand the numbers right, because actually I don't know where's Washington right now. I'm going to just look at Washington real quick. So Washington has 2 losses. Okay, both of their losses are in conference. Wow, they lost to Arizona State, and Arizona State stinks. So this is kind of interesting because both of them have 2 losses, right? So like looking at Oregon, it just took me to the game. It didn't take me to Oregon's record. I'm going to have to go back. So they got 2 losses in conference. And then Oregon, I believe they have 2 losses in conference, right? No. They have 1 loss in conference. Interesting. Okay, here we go. But if Oregon loses tonight, right, then they'll have 2 losses, and they will have lost to Washington. And if Washington wins out, then Washington would represent the Pac-12 North. So this is interesting. So this Utah-Oregon game has some big implications. Obviously, USC has to win out. They have to beat UCLA. They have to in order to be in the conversation. But in my mind, this is for the Pac-12 to be seriously considered for the college playoff. USC has to win out. Utah is probably going to have to lose, right? They're going to have to lose probably to Oregon, because I don't think they're going to lose to Colorado. So they pretty much have to lose the Oregon game. USC has to win out. And then, of course, they have to win the championship, which they would be playing either Washington or Oregon. We don't know at this point which team they're going to be playing, because Washington has this game against Colorado coming up. Oregon has this game against Utah. So definitely there are some possible playoff repercussions for these games. I'm definitely excited about it. I mean, I would love to see the Pac-12 in the conversation. I think there is a path there. Other things have to happen, right? Other teams have to lose. They do not control their destiny. Even if USC wins out, they don't control their destiny, because like right now, Utah controls their destiny. Utah controls whether they're going to. Utah controls their own destiny as far as the Pac-12 championship is concerned. If Utah wins out, they're in. So Utah is in a much better strategic place than USC right now. So, but TCU definitely still in the conversation. It's pretty interesting what's been going on with TCU. I do feel like they haven't been getting the respect that they deserve. I know that there's probably other people that think otherwise, but and this game is going to determine a lot of that. It was tied up last time I checked. I'm going to check it again real quick as we're almost nearing the end of the program. It is tied 14-14 right now. TCU Baylor, classic trap game. Hey, other sports right now. Navy UCF. UCF is ranked 17. Navy did a great job against Notre Dame. I watched that game. That was a great game. Navy really came back in the second half. They still were short, but hey, Navy is leading UCF. UCF is ranked 17. Navy, I was in the Navy Reserve, so go Navy. They're leading 17-14 against ranked UCF right now. Illinois, Michigan, it's tightening up. Hey, that Michigan could be in trouble, folks. As of right now, Michigan is leading by only 4 points, 7-3 versus Illinois. Illinois, unranked team. We've also got Louisiana, Florida State. Florida State is now up 28-0. Florida State is ranked number 20. They are up 28-0 versus Louisiana. And in that Alabama game, they are up 14 to Austin, PA. I have no idea about that school, but anyway, they're up 14-0. Again, the TCU Baylor game, you can watch that right now on Fox over the air. Illinois, Michigan, that's on the air on ABC right now. And, I guess for once I will give a little bit of love to ESPN Plus. You can watch Alabama on ESPN Plus. I personally hate ESPN Plus. I just think the games on there stink. And it's all about the UFC pay-per-views, which you still have to pay more. But hey, if you like Alabama, you can watch that on ESPN2 right now. So that's always fun. So again, I am Base God 14. I apologize that Bad Bob was not able to join us today, but I wanted to make sure that I'm trying to please the algorithm gods and make sure that we are broadcasting every Saturday morning. Hopefully next Saturday, we will be back with Bad Bob. I am talking to some people about having some guests on the show. We do talk politics. We talk entertainment here. I had wanted to talk about Disney, the Disney layoffs, but I think I want to talk about that with Bad Bob, so I don't necessarily just want to talk about it by myself. But there's a lot of stuff going on with Disney, with the streaming wars, so a lot more. With politics now receding, right? We've got the red wave, we've got the control of the house is flipped. We'll probably be focusing a lot more on entertainment news. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening with college football. I want to keep you updated on that. I know Bad Bob is a golf fan. He's been talking about some golf stuff. We do have a big golf tournament here in Arizona And so hopefully we'll be talking about that. A lot of exciting stuff, and we're trying to get our groove. So hopefully, folks, if you're watching the replay, please comment, please like, please subscribe. If you don't agree with me, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are. All right. We know Kari Lake is going to contest this election. She's already getting her lawyers together. She is not going to concede. And we still don't know what's going to happen in the attorney general's race in Arizona. And we've still got some contested seats. So we really don't know how big the red wave is going to be. All right. We know the red wave did happen. The House has flipped, but we don't know how many seats the Republicans are going to be up. And everything you're going to hear is razor thin majority, no red wave. I remember even Fox News the day after the election, no red wave. Seriously? Okay. Everybody knew the House was going to flip and no red wave. You have to question how these things are being presented. I think that's really, really important. So anyway, that's going to be it for the Bad Bob's Saturday morning hangover. Go ahead and have a Bloody Mary and enjoy your day. And hey, nurse that hangover.